Hi, friends. Welcome to the Adventure Sports Podcast. This is episode 1091, and it is a revisited episode in which Travis, many years ago, interviewed Annie Dike. Now, this interview was about Annie Dike's second book, Keys to the Kingdom, but I looked on her website. She has a third book now, None Such Like It. We need to find Annie and have her back on to talk not only about her third book, but to catch us up on all the many adventures that they have had sailing and cruising since we last talked many years ago. Annie, thank you so much for sharing your fun adventures with us. And if you're listening out there, then hey, get in touch with the Adventure Sports Podcast. It would be fun to catch up. Everyone, enjoy this show on Cruising with Annie Dike.
So I go to tack the boat to turn towards them, and I turn the wrong way off the wind to tack. You're supposed to make the wind pass, over the bow. And I just turn the wrong way, and the sail gets all backwinded. And Philip, too, he doesn't do the sails a lot, so he's struggling a little bit to remember what to do. And, we got completely goobered, like our sail all caught up, tangled up. And they're like, oh, we know you. You're that experienced sailor who writes books and stuff.
This is the Adventure Sports Podcast. Get out there and have some fun.
Welcome back to another episode of the Adventure Sports Podcast. This is Travis. Back with me today is Annie Dike. Now, you guys may remember that Annie Dike was on the show with us a while back, and we have her on because she tells us awesome stories about sailing. Annie, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Travis.
So for our listeners that may not have heard the previous episode, help me run down. Give them a little bit of background on who you are. You started off as an attorney. And
that's right.
There was essentially a big moment in your life that made you just decide to scrap all of that. Tell us a little bit about that. How did you end up here from there?
Sure. Looking back on it now, it's kind of a crazy transformation. It seems like it went so fast. It was probably about a 2 to 3 years sort of transition. I was a lawyer. I was practicing in Mobile, Alabama, and I eventually ended up practicing 6 years. But around the fifth or kind of fourth and a half-ish, I was just sick of it. Going to the same job every day and just kind of sitting in a cubicle, locked in mountains of documents. You just kind of start to stare out the window and see a different horizon. And my second book, actually, which you just touched on, goes through that whole transition. So I was practicing attorney and actually had just come off a divorce. Never fun, but it's always something that makes you kind of reassess and evaluate everything in your life. And once I'd kind of made that adjustment that this isn't right for me and I need to make a life change, I started looking at my career, of course, as everyone does. And I met Philip, my boyfriend now, around that time. And he was talking of going down to the Grenadines on a friend's boat for a week, wanted to sail the world. And I wanted to do anything but practice law. So kind of hooked up with him and we started talking about sailing. I did my first sail with him, was a article I wrote in Cruising Outpost years and years ago, but fun story. And did the first sail, loved it, and we decided we were going to get a boat and go cruising eventually. So about a 2-year process. Salt of a Sailor covers our getting the boat and bringing it home. And then my second book, Keys to the Kingdom, covers kind of the whole thing of leaving my job, which was a little bit scary. And, jumping off without a real source of income quite yet, everything fuzzy on the horizon, but just deciding, it's just the time of my life I want to do it. I'm healthy and young and hopefully can practice law anytime when I'm 60. And I thought right now I'm going to go out and just, see the world and see what's out there.
Oh, very cool. Well, I liked in your second book where you're a very candid person. So you essentially opened up about this whole experience or this life change that you went through. And what I liked about that is we read a lot of books where people are adventurers and everything seems hunky-dory and glory with them. but you don't see the downside, the dark side. So what I like about your writing is that you actually incorporate that and you let people know that, I'm real people. I I have these issues too. And you know what? You can turn this stuff around and you can do awesome things with your life.
Well, thank you. I do hope to do that. One of the big things with Salt of the Sailor was a real fun book and a real fun story, and it's meant to be very humorous and, self-deprecating, this novice sailor. But a lot of my friends and followers told me, that's a great story, but that's not your real story. That's not the big, we know you. We know you went through this huge transition, and we think that's the story you should share. And it took me a while to kind of think about it and wrap my head around it, because it's like opening yourself up on like an exam table. You're just like splayed out, and everybody can see your emotions and fears. And a part of me, honestly, I wanted to share it, and I was happy to write it. But I worry about being so young, and I'm only 33, and people might think, oh gosh, how can she have a life revelation, and know so much? And I thought, you know what, people are, if they're not going to like it, they're not going to like it. And I'm just going to have to put it out there because I think it's a story worth sharing, and I hope it inspires people. And I found the majority of the response is fantastic. I have a lot of people that write me, and it surprises me how in depth they go with, they were stuck in maybe a bad marriage or a mortgage on a house or a job they don't like. And one guy told me my book was the Bible for his new life, and I thought, oh my gosh, now that's scary. I'm like, did you read the Fire Ants chapter? Like,
Yeah.
please don't follow my lead. But it's been touching. It's been fun to have people really reach out to me, and thankful, that I did that. So that makes it worth it, even if it reached, one person, two people. That's enough for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you're going to have a life revelation, you might as well have it early on so you can spend the rest of your life doing what you really like instead of waiting until you're older and don't have much left.
Very true. That's definitely my sentiment and always my mantra. So go now, do it now.
I think I mentioned to you in the past, my mom has become a reader of yours just because, they lived on the sailboat for, 7 years or so. And she enjoys reading your experiences, as a newbie, starting with Salt of the Sailor, coming up through and everything that you're learning and, the crashes and bashes that you guys make.
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad to hear that. It's fun to hear people that I try to write it like I'm very like, self-deprecating, and I don't know what I'm talking about. You're going to be the first one to know that I have no clue what's going on, and I'm just trying to hang in there. What we're doing now, everything on the boat, I don't know if you kind of followed on the YouTube channel and whatnot, but we're repairing some rot wood and fiberglass work, and I'm like clueless Annie, but I'm down there in the bilge with the gloves on with the guys, and we're grinding stuff and fiberglassing, and I'm there, man. I'm trying, but it's definitely going to be worthy of another book.
Well, yeah, you're getting a lot of writing out of that, a lot of material. But the cool thing is, if you guys are sitting there doing that all yourselves instead of paying somebody to do it, then you know what went into it. You know the inner workings of your boat. So when things go to pop, out there in the ocean, you can do something about it.
I love that you're saying that because, yes, I 100% agree. But we're such idiots. We can't do it all ourselves. We would screw up the whole boat. I had to cut a hole in the hull, and then we couldn't patch it. I mean, but we are doing it with some good friends of ours that work at the shipyard, and it's been awesome to look over their shoulder and really see how much work they do. I mean, it is no joke, those boys at the yard, the time they put in. And so that's been really cool. It's been cool learning with them because this was such a big job. You'll kind of see we did attempt it ourselves, but that's when we learned, okay, we need at least one expert down here with us in this village before we sink the boat. But it's been cool to learn, and I definitely think next time Philip and I would feel confident enough to, if we had to do a fiberglass repair or something a little more extensive than we've done, we've learned it. So that's a cool thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, knowing when to say when is not a skill to bypass, that's for sure.
I usually say it a lot earlier than Philip. I'm like, Uncle, I'm calling the expert. He's just so brave. I don't see how some things he takes apart, and I'm so afraid when we put it back together, there's gonna be like one little Johnson rod that we forgot, and it's gonna blow up. I never trust myself with engine work. I'm always afraid to recrank. Who knows what's gonna happen? But he's really good at researching and reading and getting the confidence to go in there. And he's like, I understand how it works. This is what we're gonna do. And I'm like, I've got your wrench here. I'm right behind you, buddy.
That's right. First mate is on duty.
Yep. But it's been such a fun process. It's so rewarding to kind of challenge yourself and learn new things. And it's a really good feeling.
Well, cool. It sounds like a much better life you've devised for yourself. So, how about some words of encouragement? You got people in similar situations that are thinking, that life sounds like mine. What can I do to turn it around? How can I take that next step? That's scary.
It is, and I hate to be the person, that's like I have the advice, I have the answers, because I don't. You'll see in the book, I made plenty of mistakes, and I think that's the biggest thing, that even if everybody can say be brave, get out there and do it, and my biggest message is, you are going to fail at times, and you are going to hit brick walls, and it's going to be difficult, and you're going to question yourself, but you got to just kind of be ready to make mistakes, be ready to fall a time or two, because it's not going to be hunky dory, perfect. It shouldn't be. That's it. You don't learn from it that way, so that's not the way it should turn out. But be ready to have those mistakes happen and have you question yourself. That's okay, and everybody needs sort of the cojones to jump off that cliff. But even when you do, that's not going to be the end. You're going to be learning the whole time. So just be ready for those. I always want to point people out to, you're still going to make more mistakes, and you're still going to find you pick other wrong paths. So just, keep in the spirit, be brave, but know that it's a long road ahead, and just be excited for the rewards on the end.
Yeah, you got it. Well, I think it goes to say that adventure starts when you let it happen. So if you just take that first step and just be open to the adventure that is before you and let it happen, then you're probably gonna enjoy what you decided to do.
Yeah. And it's probably not going to end up how you ever envisioned it, and it's not, that's the funny thing, is that it'll lead you somewhere you never thought you'd be, but it usually always works out. Whatever you're freaked out about or worried about, it may be tough, but it's going to work out. Like, things just kind of work themselves out. If you're creative and diligent and just keep pushing forward with a goal in mind, you're going to get to a place that's close to where you want to be.
Right, right. All right, from some fun story times, in Colorado, things have been pretty darn cold lately, and we're finally just snapping out of that. And I think down to your neck of the woods in Florida, and I think, man, I would like to be there right now. So, how about a fun story?
It's so cold.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
my
you guys
gosh,
are probably
it's 40
sweatshirts.
out. Oh,
I'll take it. So, fun stories that make us feel warmer and put a smile on our face. What do you think?
I remember, I used to be out in the sunshine and bask on the boat. The boat is in shambles right now, so I can't even imagine. I forget what it's like to sail. But I will say, the last time we went out kiteboarding was definitely a fun adventure. And it was the last time Philip and I were just talking the other day that we were out in bikinis and board shorts, and we went out and we kite
Who
surfed.
was wearing which?
Funny.
Sorry.
He's got the man speedo. Actually, I've worn board shorts before for kite surfing, sometimes for your harness. And this sounds terrible, but I call them the lesbian shorts, but they're those big basketball shorts that go down to my knees. And I'm like, I am the hottest dyke out here. That's my joke.
Only Annie.
Only Annie. But it's funny. So I have been in board shorts before, but we were out there in Pensacola. The really cool thing about this area, what we like for kite surfing, is you can have good north wind, and you can kite on what we call the sound side and the bay side, where it's protected. So it's the ICW. Or you can, if you have a south wind, jump out in the Gulf and kite out in the Gulf on that side. So you kind of have all directions. There's at least somewhere you can go and find a really cool spot. And we were in the Gulf this day doing a downwinder, where we'll start at one point and we station some cars, maybe, I'm going to say a mile, but I hope I don't get, Philip's going to be like, we never kite a mile. Why did you say that? I'm so
sounds cool anyway.
Dyslexic. Yeah, I don't know. 20 feet feels like a mile out in the Gulf. But so we stationed and we did a downwinder. And we're going, and I'm just now trying to learn jumps, Travis. That's my thing. I'm hopping little frog hops, and I'm trying to figure out how to do it. And apparently, if you do all things right, exactly how you're supposed to do them, you fly 20 feet in the air.
Right.
And I didn't mean to. I'd been trying, and I guess miraculously somehow little Annie did everything 100% completely right. I ripped out of the Gulf. Of course, I say 20 feet. It was probably 9 feet or something, but it's big for me. And I'm screaming, oh my gosh, I gotta lose my board. And my bikini top starts to come undone.
Oh man.
as I land in the Gulf, and I'm, like a washing machine, and I'm trying to make sure my kite's in the air. And luckily, I didn't crash my kite, but I can feel it like coming undone. I'm like, oh boy, this is not gonna be fun. I don't have a board. I have to go to shore. There's like no other way to get around this, and thankfully, I didn't lose it. You know what I mean? Because you can't let go of the kite. You at least have to have one hand on the kite, often two, just to make sure you're controlling it well. But I've got one hand on my back, sort of holding the bikini somewhat together, and one hand flying the kite. And I make it to shore, and there's people around, and everybody's watching because this girl with this big kite's coming up. And I
Probably a
think I
bigger
held
crowd at
everything
this point.
together. Do what?
There's a bigger crowd at this point, I'm sure.
To come in. I mean, I can't really take the time, look down and make sure I'm not, slipping a little and things are moving around. But I think I held it together. And Philip finally came to shore because he sees me just standing there with my kite at noon, which is kind of your sign, like I'm gonna quit, or I need help or something. So he came up, and right when he kind of gets to me and he sees me holding with one hand on the back and one hand flying a kite, and I'm trying to keep my back to the crowd always. I keep turning around in circles. And he came over and thankfully tied me back together. I'm glad I didn't lose it, like that. I can't imagine, because there's nothing you can do. You've only got one hand to work with it. When you start to land the kite, you've got to have two hands. So it would just be an all-out show. But luckily that didn't happen.
So are you now considering different kiteboarding attire?
It's fun. I should. I really, really should. Because a good friend of mine told me that a long time ago. She was teaching me, and she saw. I came out my first day in my famous red bikini. I call it that because I've worn it from the very beginning. It was on my first cover of Salt of a Sailor, and I've had it for like 3 years. It's totally tattered now and oil stained, but I still have it. Like, it's my lucky bikini, and now it's like my work bikini because I kiteboard in it because it's kind of rough on them, and I still wear it. I guess I just haven't changed my mind yet. That day should have taught me, but that's the last day we've kiteboarded this year, so maybe I'll have to find something else.
That's great. Well, yeah, what I understand about kiteboarding and snow kiting is it's so important to keep that kite up in the air instead of crashing down the water. You almost forgo any other thing as long as you can keep that kite up in the air, right?
Oh, totally. It's 80% kite, 20% board skills, and it's amazing how much you start to sacrifice mentally to keep that kite in the sky. Like, it becomes the ultimate, most important thing in your life. I remember when Philip was teaching me how to, initially, because you spend a lot of time flying the kite before you ever get in the water, because it is so important. And I would always keep my eyes on the kite, like staring straight overhead, and he was standing in front of me, and he'd be like, "Look at me and tell me your name." And I'd glance down, just like, "Annie," back up in the kite, back up in the kite. I couldn't even look down long enough to tell him my dress or anything. And now I can look to the side and just fly the kite completely blind because I can feel it. Before then in my hands, I couldn't. And but it's so important. And so you're so focused on the kite. When I first started in the water going, just a little bit left and right, one of my first times that I really got going, and I was so excited, and I'm watching the kite, of course, always on the kite, and I kite right onto shore. Just like scraped the ground. Just thankfully, luckily my board just kind of stuck in the mud, and I just belly rub all the way across the ground. And I'm flying a kite. I still got the kite, so I get the kite to noon, and I stand up. I look around, make sure nobody saw me, and get my board, and finally get back to Philip. And he's like, "What happened?" I'm like, "What are you talking about? Nothing. I'm totally fine." And he's like, "Look at you." And my front side is like Swamp Thing. I mean, it's like seaweed, big clump of mud, and my kite hook. I mean, like, just looked like I've just been drugged behind a 4-wheel truck in a mud derby. And I was like, "Oh, I ran out of water." Like, "You're not watching the shore?" And I'm like, "Absolutely not. I keep my eyes on the kite. Hello. What do you do?"
Just water disappeared, it happens out
if
here
I had
in the
more
ocean.
water, I'd have been fine, But that was my thing. He said he'd never met anybody who ran out of water.
That is hilarious. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, you guys don't seem to have mastered the chasing of a Hal yet. As I was reading your second book, I was chuckling because I'm thinking, is this deja vu, or did I actually read a similar story in the first book? So tell our listeners a little bit about that. And the ones that had heard the first episode with you will recognize the story, but you kind of did it all over again.
Oh my gosh, the story that's in Keys to the Kingdom, that was the mid-sea mast climb. I think I talked about that one. So if that's a story you feel like I've gone all the way through, I just want to be sure. But on our trip to Florida Keys in 2014. Hal, we call him Hal. He's the main halyard, and so we've given him a little notorious nickname because he's a feisty little buddy. He'll slip right out of your hands. It's so funny how you can. One time I actually yanked it out of my own hand, like I was pulling the slack on the other side, and I know how important it is to hold on to him. And I yanked it out of my own hand, and I thought, oh my gosh, like how could you have just done that? But you can. It happens. It's like dumping a cup of coffee in your lap to look at your watch. You do it. But let go of Hal somehow, and he's just swinging around like this like fire hose in a cartoon all over the boat. Can't seem to get him. And we made this Frankenstein contraption of the boat hook, which couldn't quite catch him. So we duct taped it to the fishing net. So it turned into like this 7-foot long, I call it like an old timey dog catcher net. And we're running around the boat with this thing, trying to catch Hal, who's about 3 or 4 feet above our head, just dangling around, running around. And he eventually whips around the backstay of the boat, just whoop, and he's like 4 or 5 feet above the bimini now. There's no way we can really get him. And it's late at night. We're crossing, I think we were going to Clearwater, so from kind of like the Apalachicola area to Clearwater. So he wraps around the backstay, and Philip is like, well, that was fun. He's like, we're not doing this tonight. We shouldn't be out in the dark up on the Bimini trying to get Hal back, and which is a smart call. So we go to bed and wake up the next morning, and Hal has taken his sweet little time climbing. He was really quiet because he was real busy, is what I say. And he climbed all the way to the top of the mast. Ended up there. And so the weight of the line, we just learned, pulled him up. And so it was easy for him to just make his way to the top. And that's when Annie had to, mid-sea as we're going along and the boat's bobbing over waves, just pulled me up the mast using the bosun's chair and a safety line. And I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal. I've climbed the mast many times, but always at a marina or like at the dock when the boat is really super still. And it's no problem. You just hoist you up and you go up and it's no big deal. I call it the treetop phenomenon when you're going over the waves, like what feels steady down at the deck below about 30 feet up is like 3 feet this way and 3 feet that way. And I mean, it turns into just a wild experience because you can't let go of the mast. That was the one thing that freaked me out when I kind of got halfway up, that I realized if I let go of it, I'm just like Hal did. I was going to swing around kind of like a tetherball on the end of a string and just bash into stuff. I can't prevent myself from turning backwards or forwards. So that got a little kind of scary, because I realized once I get up there, I'm going to have to climb the last bit myself, and I'm going to have to get Hal, and I can't let go of the mast, like all of those things. But it worked out, it's just something you got shaky legs, but you just kind of keep going and be as safe as you possibly can. And luckily I got him and brought him back down, and I was all skint up and beat up. But we've got Hal. He never comes off the mast, the mainsail anymore. We don't unclip him ever, ever, ever.
Now wait a minute.
We don't.
I want to beg to differ, because there was a certain chapter in Keys of the Kingdom called Annie, Are You Okay?
This is now. now. That was we took us 2 lessons to learn this mainsail. Yeah, I know. I'm trying not to be a spoiler alert, but now after we had 2 heart-wrenching, like almost near-death lessons, then we're like, oh, maybe we shouldn't unclip that.
Ever, right? Ever.
Maybe we should just pull it back and cinch it. Like, that's smart, but you learn as you go. Little things like that. Sailing's all about kind of systems and figuring out, just a tiny little fix, like cinching back your mainsail halyard can save a first mate going up the mast.
Life's lessons, right? Well, I gotta admit that I'm still a little upset with you for naming the chapter "Annie, Are You Okay?" because the Michael Jackson song will not get out of my head.
Annie, are you okay?
Thanks for that.
We sing that a lot because just today, here's a fun little story for you. So we're re-rigging the boat, which has been a very big ordeal, and a good thing because, like you said, we're doing it. We decided to do it ourselves with at least some friends looking over our shoulders, but we're learning it all, and we're taking off the deck plates, like the plates on the boat that hold the shrouds in. So they're on there. I mean, they've been on there 30 years. And it takes a hammer, and you wedge the hammer prongs under, and you pull back. And I'm doing this, pulling, and the prongs pop out, and I sock myself in the jaw. I mean, and fall to the deck. And I was like, and Philip goes, "Oh my gosh, Annie, are you okay?" Are you okay? And as I'm laying there, I'm singing it to myself, but I have a big red whelp right now. Like, I almost wish we were on video. You should see it. I punched myself in the face today. That's how my day went down.
You guys seem to end up with a lot of photos in your book with Annie's injuries.
Yeah, well, I'm prone to it. It just seems to happen. But, I try to be as careful as I can. I don't want anybody to think, I know sometimes we don't do everything 100% safe. And so I'm just like, at your own risk, we try our best. But stuff's going to happen, when you're sailing. You're always going to get bumps and bangs and bruises. But I did not envision punching myself. So I got a pretty good right hook, I'll tell you.
I'm the first.
Solid connection there.
That's
good
great.
follow through.
So take us through a day, when you're not tumbling off of the boom and you're not climbing masts and you're not punching yourself in the face. Take us through one of the days where sailing is actually relaxing. What does that look like?
Gosh, I miss that. What does that look like?
There was one of those, wasn't there?
Oh my gosh, it's funny. It's December 15th we pulled the mast on the boat, and since then it's just been a total kind of chaos ensued with everything else that we found that we need to do, and I'm documenting it all in the videos. But it's been that long since we have been able to sail the boat, and I know it's winter, but we usually sail in the winter, and so we've really going through withdrawals. Typically, like a normal, when we go out for the weekend, we head out to Fort McRae around here. I don't know if you're familiar with the area, but there's 3 forts kind of at Pensacola Bay. So it's really neat when you come in the pass. There's Fort Pickens on the east side and Fort McRae on the west side, and then kind of the lighthouse and stuff on the back. And so Fort McRae is this just secluded, tiny little anchorage with what we call Sand Island next to it, and it's all this white sugar kind of sand that's I haven't seen anywhere else yet. I'm sure it's in the Bahamas and the Exumas and beautiful places, but it's sugar white. It's like quartz and it squeaks under your feet, and so it's just solitary. It's this beautiful place. And we'll head out usually on a Friday, provision the boat, and we head out Friday when Philip gets off work and we're ready to go. We get there about 3 or 4, drop the hook, and always it's cocktail time, happy hour on Plainest Rest. And you can sit there and just have, a glass of wine and a drink and watch the sunset. Like it's finally just kind of, your brain shuts down and you get on, we call it like island time as a joke. But, it's a 45-minute, hour-long process. You can say nothing and just watch it happen. And it just, I don't know, it's like a reset button. Everything that was stressing you out or kind of weighing on you just sort of melts off, and the boat becomes the only priority. All you can think about is a couple of boat projects you need to do, what you're going to make for dinner. And it's just this peace of mind kind of out there that I crave. And that's why I'm so excited that we're going this year. We're going to leave October and head south again and probably go 3 or 4 or 5 months, go longer if we can. But I'm ready to get back to that. It's been good to do all this stuff on the boat, but it's very stressful. It's very time consuming and hard work. So I would love to get back to that cocktail and that sunset and that slow way of thinking.
Yeah, simple life and slow life. There's no replacement for that. That's for sure.
I can't remember the last time I've seen sunrise. I will say that because you see it often on the boat. Your body kind of tunes in to sun up, sun down. And sunset, we'll see it every once in a while in between, going to the shipyard or making dinner or coming home from the office, and you just kind of, it slips by and you just like don't realize that it just happened. But it's never on the boat. Is that the case? Like you just always know sunrise, sunset, and you're just in tune with it. It's just such a neat frame of mind.
Yeah, that sounds like an awesome time right now. Like I said, it's been cold up here, so I could take a little bit of that for sure. I wish you to get back on the boat as soon as you can and relay your stories to the rest of us who are still freezing.
Thank you. We're excited. It should be about a month. And it's been really fun because I've at least been able to document it for the YouTube channel. But I do have something I've been meaning to tell you. I was excited when you got in touch with me. I do have a really exciting thing coming out on the YouTube video. It's actually launching tomorrow. And that's why it's been a lot of work trying to get this all ready and do all my marketing, kind of have when we'll travel stuff while also working on the boat half the time every day. But I know you're familiar with Patreon, right?
Yep.
Cool. And I have been struggling myself to kind of figure out how to use that platform because I 100% agree with it. I think it's an awesome thing to help creators do what they love to do, and people that love what they create, show them, in a way that matters and helps them keep going.
Absolutely.
It's good. And it's fantastic. And I had several, I think to 20, a handful of folks that were supporting me. And we wanted to do something different, like, like, hey, get us to $100 and we'll get a drone, or $200 and we can sail to Cuba. And I was going to make a video, but I was just struggling with it. Like, I don't know. I just felt like it was about Philip and I and our needs. And I didn't like that personally. So I came up with a new idea. Here's what I'm doing, Travis. I am starting tomorrow. The Patreon money that comes in, I'm going to use it and match it so I can give what I call the gift of cruising to one of my patrons. And the first one I'm doing is, you're very familiar with her, Pam Wall.
Oh, cool.
You've talked to her several times, and she's a sailing and cruising consultant, which I think you guys chatted about. And she helps people find their boat, get the boat that's right for them, outrig it and go. And she's the most inspirational, knowledgeable cruiser you could ever have. First of all, just to give you a kick in the rear to say, go now and don't worry about anything because, I got your back and I know this.
Right.
And two, to help you find the boat that's right, and she can look at it and she knows everything. She can help you find problems and things like that. So I'm going to give her Find Your Boat package to one of my patrons, where they get Pam Wall as a gift from me to help them find a boat. I want to see somebody get in a boat this year and get cruising. I have, like I said, so many people write me and they have this dream and they want to do it. So I'm going to use Patreon for that. And I'm hopeful it works out well. It may be kinks to work out because it's a new thing that I'm trying to bring in the money and match it, and Pam's on board. But that's the first one I'm going to do. And once I get to 200 a week, I'm going to give that gift to one of my patrons, and then just go from there. Like the next one, maybe I can give a sailing certification course to someone, a couple that wants to learn how to sail, or maybe I can send them to Annapolis to a boat show. I can gather these gifts and I fund them with the Patreon money and then give them to one of my patrons.
That's a great idea.
I hope so. Philip and I were just, like I said, it's a new idea. And so you never know when you try something new, you always have little, growing pains to kind of figure out how to do it right and how it works. And we may make some mistakes along the way, but to me, it felt like the best way to use the money and to give back and help people that have been following me and have the dream too. And then we get to follow them. Like we get to see whoever wins, work with Pam, and I'll check in on them every once in a while, see how the boat hunt's going. If they buy a boat, we'll do a little video on that. And so people will see it happen to real people, and I hope that motivates folks as well. Like, hey, here's a normal person who was working at the post office and Annie helped get him in a boat and he's now cruising. I'd love for that to inspire people to get out there and do it as well. So that's my idea. I hope it works really well. And I'm launching tomorrow with the Pam Wall campaign at first. She's a friend. I wanted to help her too. And I think she's just an invaluable asset for anybody who wants to try to go cruising. So I hope everybody will jump on board for that, get inspired and get on board is my mantra. And just a few dollars can help me give a really, really incredible gift to one of my patrons.
Very cool. Well, that reminds me of, we had Kai Delaney on a while back, and I know you were part of helping
that was one
her
of my
out.
inspirations. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, that's what it reminds me of. And I love that you're doing it. It's like a crowd fund to get somebody over that hump and on their way to their adventure. So awesome for you.
Exactly. I hope it works. I'm really, really excited about it. I can't imagine it not working, but if people don't donate, I'm going to find a way to at least give this first gift because I'll feel bad because I'm like, oh, I'm going to do it. So I'll make it happen. Pam and I will make it happen. But I hope people enjoy, the premise of it and, think it's a good thing to donate to and be a part of. And once you're a patron, you're in the pool of folks, and next time it may be you, So I thought that'd be a much cooler thing to do with the money than help us get a drone or help us go here, and because we've worked very hard to do this and we're going to do this, and so I want to, cruisers are so helpful. Like so many people have given us tools and knowledge and resources, that I want to be able to give back in a way that I can. If I have a platform and a voice, that's how I want to use it. So that's a really cool thing. So I'm really excited that you were able to talk to me right around this time. If this airs in about a week, it'll be really interesting to see how this is going because it's going tomorrow for me. big day in the life of Annie. But do, if you see it on there, share and spread the word, and hopefully we can get somebody in a boat and get them going.
Absolutely. Well, now is the perfect time to talk about where they should go to see that Patreon and to donate there, and where they can find everything else about you.
Yeah, thanks. It's everything. The central hub is havewindwilltravel.com. Everything's there. You can see the link to my Patreon page, which would be where the Pam Wall campaign is going on, and you can donate there. And you'll see I've set it all up now. It's my first reward that I'm going to give out. And then on there too is the link to my YouTube channel, which I do 2 videos a week. That's been fun. A little tiring, but very, very fun. I've had a lot of people. YouTube is crazy. I mean, it's blowing up. So
It
it's
is, yes.
kind of like the place to be. And it astounds even me how many people sign up maybe like a day. And I don't even know where these people come from. Maybe like 600 views overnight. And I'm like, who are these people watching videos all night? I'm just like,
get out there and do stuff, people. Wait, watch the video, then get out there and do stuff.
I know. It's kind of crazy, but the YouTube's been really fun. It's fun to just kind of let my personality come out and just roll with it. I've really, really enjoyed that. But doing that, my book links are there, Keys to the Kingdom and Salt of a Sailor. And I'm working now on my 3rd book. I hope it'll come out in probably 2-3 months. But it's going to cover my regatta that I did in the Abacos last year. So that's really fun. And everything is there at havewindwilltravel.com. You can sign up to follow, do 3 posts a week, 2 videos a week. The books are there. Anybody who emails me gets a free copy of the book all the time. Just shoot me an email. My email's there too. But it's anniedike@gmail.com. Real easy. Anything you want that I can give you for free, just email me. It's yours.
Man, that's not a bad deal at all. Just email Annie. She'll give you maybe your free boat, or, not that far.
Yeah, no, not a free boat. But I like your mindset. Hey, if things go well, hopefully, I'd love to be able to do that. That would be awesome.
When the
but
empire
for now, I can
reaches. Yeah, very cool. Very cool. I love it. So yeah, go to havewindwilltravel.com and visit Annie and interact with her and get free boats and cars and all that kind of stuff.
You're killing me, free boats.
It's good that she offered that up to our listeners.
I said books. Now you heard that right. Free
Oh,
books.
that's right.
Funny.
Very cool. That's awesome. Well, you're definitely not slowing down, obviously. And I didn't even know about the next book coming out about racing. So that's pretty cool. It's got to be a fun experience. So maybe we'll have you on again to talk about that, of course.
I would love to. Be
Very
honored.
Cool. Very cool. All right. Let's go back into some stories. Now, you guys, you've been bumbling around the boat, and you have good days and you have bad days. Other than climbing masts, what is another example of maybe a bad time? Things didn't quite go right, maybe heavy storm, heavy weather. What could somebody expect when they're not drinking champagne, to sunrise and sunset?
So true. And then it's funny. I'm not even sure it's a 50-50 balance. Like sometimes it's 60-40. It seems like rough times with the good times. I think the good times are just so good. It makes the 60% worth it. But we recently had a pretty bad experience sailing, and it surprised us it was in Pensacola Bay because it's pretty protected. Like we usually don't get, howling winds through here. But that Hurricane Patricia that came through, I'm thinking now that was 3 or 4 months ago. And so we were sailing home from Fort McRae like we normally do, and we were expecting wind on the nose, of maybe 15, which isn't great, but that's fine. We can get home safely. And it's about a 5-hour sail. We started out, Travis, and the winds just kept picking up. They got to like 25, 27, right on our nose, like dead on our nose. And I'd never thought about this before, and I guess that shows I'm kind of a new contemporary sailor, I would say, because probably like Lynn Pardee and the rest of them, they've dealt with this a lot. But the engine wasn't powerful enough to push us forward. Like there was no other, it was as if we didn't have an engine. Like there was no other way to move forward to get home other than to sail.
Going backwards is not an option.
Not an option. And I guess I'd never even mentally processed that. I was like, because Phillips has the engine running, but he's like, he said, I'm going to kill it. He's just like, there's not enough, we might be going 0.2. And he said, it'll take us 12 hours to get home. And I'm not going to do that. And I was like, wait a minute, we don't have an engine. Like it just kind of, you're like, okay, let's regroup and do this. So we were flying our Jenny, tiny little sliver of Jenny, had it furled like a freaking beach towel. And it's right on our nose. So we were tacking back and forth. And I swear every time we turn, Travis, I feel like we're going backwards. It makes you tack. Like it always feels like, oh my God, I'm turning so far off of my destination. And we made probably 30, 40 tacks like in the channel, just back and forth, back and forth. And it's so hard on the boat. You can just hear her working so hard, all of that. And a big lesson learned, because what happened to us with all that tacking in the Jenny, when it was funny, we finally got on the one run that we thought we might be able to get home. We made it past the little point that we had to get around. We're going along, everything seems great, and we hear this pop, and the whole Jenny just unfurls. Oh, no. Whopping Jenny. Oh my gosh. And we're both shocked, and I always, when I hear pop, like, I look at the shrouds. I don't know why. I always think one of them's going to pop and the mast is going to fall over. Like, it's just big fear of mine. Worst part about sailing for me is the boat. Like, I've never once really worried about my own bodily safety, other than, when I fall or something. But am I going to fall off and drown? No, I know how to swim. But is the boat going to bust something that costs $20,000? Maybe. So when she groans and cries out, like, I'm freaked out. I'm all balled up just to make it stop. But I look at the shrouds, everything's fine. Philip looks around, he's baffled. He looks at the cleated, furling line for the Jenny. It has not moved, it's still there. And I finally look up at the drum, and the furling line blew, like it exploded, just busted. And we learned later it was chafe. And so, very good lesson. Check your chafe points when everything's all furled up and under super pressure like that, because it had been rubbing on the opening of the drum. So every time we furled back and forth, this one little spot was just like rubbing on the steel opening of the drum. And it cut it right through. So then we have a full 135 Jenny out. We can't furl her in. There's no way to bring her in.
That's a giant flag.
Huge. And so, of course, our first thought, I'm like, crap, it's terrible. You're worried about it. First thought is, I guess we can drop her. You try to turn into old timey sailors. Like, how would people really handle this before there was furlers? People have been raising their sails for thousands of years somehow. So we're like, well, we can drop her. We start to get ready to do that. And Philip cranks the engine again, and still he has not enough power to go. Like, it's blowing probably 30 right around then, right on the nose. He just can't fight it. So we have to sail home 135 Jenny, tacking that thing in 30 knot winds, just and it's the sounds on the boat. I mean, you don't even want to be there. You don't want to hear it. It sounds like you're tearing your boat apart. And it's hard to watch. It's hard to be a part of. And if something catches, if something snarls, like, it's just dangerous to tack a Jenny that big and winds that strong. So that was really, really pretty frightening. We've called it one of our absolute worst sails. Now, we've been in worse, like out in Gulf crossings, but we were often motoring or motor sailing. This, we were just sailing because there was no other option. And so that was definitely one of the worst sails of the boat. That was just a terrible feeling. But we got finally, it was about 5 hours, doing this. And we made it close enough to the dock that we could drop the sail. And we fixed the furling line. And, and lesson learned, check your chafe points. I'm sure that was what had happened, but we just had never been in winds that heavy and didn't know. And maybe it would have, blown through anyway. Who knows? But you always try to take away something from it. But that was a pretty horrid day in the life of Annie in the boat. That's definitely not something I want to repeat.
Yeah, no, keep those to a minimum for sure. Well, the wind, and the wind has a ton of energy, and you put a sail in the middle of it, and it's a lot of weight there. It's a lot of money that you could be risking by doing that. And it is pretty scary.
It is. And I just always think about the boat. I can't stand to put her under any stress. And I know I probably seem like a rinky-dink sailors. Other people be like, bury the rails, let's go. And I'm like, the rails cost $10,000. No, I'm like, take the boat. Anybody else's boat, I'll sail the heck out of it. I don't care. That's fine. It's not my boat, and it's my boat. Everything changes. We reef everything, we're very careful, but there's just nothing that could be done. And that's going to happen, and I know that. So we need to be ready for that. There's a big reason why we're re-rigging now, because we want everything to be as strong as it possibly can be, because you're going to find yourself in situations like that, and the boat's just going to have to be able to handle it, or it's not. So best thing you can do is just be prepared, ready your boat.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to be able to rely on that equipment at the same time. When that stuff fails, it's very likely to be in the very wrong time. Timing is always the worst when it comes to that.
What is it that Captain Ron, if it's going to happen, it'll happen out there. It's not going to happen on some sunshiny, nice day. No, heck no.
That's right.
Absolutely not.
Murphy doesn't work that way.
No, sadly.
Well, I don't normally ask this question, but because you are Annie Dike,
Oh
and
boy.
you have some fun stories, and you've opened yourself up in your book and your writing, I want an embarrassing moment. Now, you guys learning the ropes, so to speak, in sailing, have probably been in a few pickles that came funny stories came out of. So, what might be an embarrassing
That's
tale?
that's funny. There's probably so many of them.
I've read your books, okay?
Yeah, I know. I'm like, there's so I will think of one that Philip may be a little mortified if I tell this, but it was all me. It's all my fault. So I don't hold the helm too much, and I don't think there's any hidden secret about that. Philip is an excellent helmsman. He loves to hold the wheel, and I do all the sails. I love the manual labor of the sails, and then I get up every maybe like 15, 20 minutes, help him tack, and get back to my book. And I love it that way. That's what I love to do. He loves to actually sail the boat. But I can hold the wheel, and we try often to make me do things, dock, and tack, and do a lot of stuff. So I know exactly what I'm doing, and I'm decent. But I'm nowhere near Philip. He's just got the better feel for it. But one day we're out there in the bay, and we thought, let's give Annie some practice. Let's let her have the wheel, and we'll tack some and do some different drills that we don't normally do. Just always you want to keep the rust knocked off. And we're sailing, and everything's going great, and we pass one of my followers, like I can't remember the name now of the boat. But they were sailing by, and so they hail us on the radio, and they're like, "Hey, we're fans of Have One Will Travel." And I'm like, "Oh, cool, that's awesome. Good to see you guys." I know it's Eric is his name, and we're chatting with him, and so we're gonna like, "Hey, let's sail right next to each other and do a little, sail by, blow by, whatever, and get some pictures." And they'd say, "Okay, great." And so I go to tack the boat to turn towards them, and I turn the wrong way off the wind to tack. You're supposed to make the wind pass, over the bow. And I just turn the wrong way, and the sail gets all backwinded. And Philip, too, he doesn't do the sails a lot. So he's struggling a little bit to remember what to do. And I mean, we got completely goobered, like our sail all caught up, tangled up. And they're like, "Oh, we know you. You're that experienced sailor who writes books and stuff." And I'm like, we could never catch up to him because Annie got us so goobered we couldn't get turned around.
That's hilarious.
To come up to him, but it can happen. It's just your mind can play tricks on you about which way to turn or which rope to pull, or if you say a starboard tack or a port tack, you can just get real mixed up, and that's
Right.
fine. But right in front of them, like I was like, oh my god, Philip was mortified. Like I could see his ears were red. He was embarrassed.
Poor guy.
That's when I know he's embarrassed, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry, honey."
Like, I am doing everything to do this right, and she screws it up right in front of an audience.
He wanted to say, because we're probably so far away they can't tell that I have the wheel. I'm sure he wanted to get on the radio and be like, "Annie was driving. It's totally Annie," and I would have been like, "That's right, I was. It was me." But he was just so embarrassed, being a very good sailor, good captain. That did not sit well.
That's hilarious. Good one. I'm glad I asked the question. All right, so last question.
Oh no, one more.
Yeah, the time has gone that quickly. What's on the horizon for you guys? What are your big plans to get off the coast of Florida and
I'm glad you asked. Huge plan. It was funny when it happened. We were kind of talking maybe November-ish, end of October. I knew what happened. There was a rally that goes from Pensacola to Cuba. I don't know if you're familiar with this, and it goes every other year. They just started it this year as the first one because you can go to Cuba, but they've decided to do it every other year. And I think 10 or 15 boats went, and we were about to go on board another person's boat because it takes a lot of paperwork to get your boat all lined up, and we weren't ready to do that. And so we were going to go and crew on another person's boat. And it didn't turn out that we could for whatever reason. But we were there watching as all these boats were like going through the Pensacola Pass headed to Cuba. And if you want something to really kick you in the rear end, we were like, oh, man, that should totally be us.
Like, why am I not part of that?
Yeah, it was kind of disheartening. I mean, you're waving off your friends, you're excited for them, but you want to be there on their boat going, And so that was kind of a turning point for us where we're like, that's it. Next year, that we're going. We're going to do this. We're either going to go to Cuba or Isla Mujeres or the Keys or Bahamas, or let's do this. And we were like, okay, let's start talking budget, time, blah, blah, blah. The minute we make that decision, Travis, I think the next weekend we found the rotten stringer on the boat.
Oh, no. Of course.
I know. And so I'm sure you've seen it in the videos. It was kind of like we had this conversation earlier about how sometimes you think things happen and they're bad luck or misfortune. And when you look back on it like a month or two later, you're like, you know what? that happened exactly like it was supposed to, and it turned out better. And that's worked here. But when that happened, we went, oh, because we just knew that was going to be a huge fix. We're going to have to pull the mast to fix it, a lot of expense. But it was funny through the whole thing. We were like, you know what? This is not going to stop us. It's not going to stop us. We needed to re-rig, so we'll pull the mast. We'll re-rig to go, sail south. So we'll just make it part of the whole process, and we'll just have a tighter budget. And we were like, it's not going to stop us. We're still going. And we found a lot of other things that need to be done that had we not done them, we may have had a failure or other things go wrong. So it was kind of like the boat telling us, if you want to go south, I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do. And she showed us a little rotten spot that made us had to open up everything, which has been a great thing now. And we've been doing a ton of work. But we're leaving probably mid to late October, weather-wise and good weather window, and going to start sailing south like we did last time towards the Keys. We want to spend more time there, and we'd love to go to Cuba. Everybody's wanting to go to Cuba. We'd love to go to Isla Mujeres. We'd love to go around and end up in the Bahamas eventually next spring. So this will be probably a 4 or 5, 6 month trip. We may need to fly home and stage the boat and handle things at home, depending on work stuff. But we're going. We've been devoting everything to it: time, energy, money. So it's the goal is not going away. If anything, it gets stronger and stronger. The more time we spend at the shipyard and the more money that goes into the boat, budget. We're just like, that's it. We're still going. We're doing this. And so it's really exciting. We're going to head out this coming season and really, really go.
Man, that sounds awesome. And hey, don't mind me if I just happen to slip aboard and hide downstairs.
That's fine. I'll put you in the bilge with a little brush and a degreaser. I'll find a good place for you.
I can grab lines. I can throw bumpers over the side. Whatever you need me to do. I'll be the second mate.
I mentioned the brush and the degreaser and the bilge. You heard me. Don't talk about lines and bumpers.
I hear what I want to hear. Haven't you figured that one out?
No, it's exciting. I love talking about it. It's definitely a fun, image on the horizon.
Yeah, that's cool. Something to look forward to. And I'm actually glad you found the surprises on the boat before you went, because that'd be a complete nightmare to find that stuff out underway. And you're off. You're outside your home port trying to get this stuff fixed. You don't know who's the best reputable person to repair it, and so
exactly.
Timing was good.
It's kind of like the boat was looking out for us. It's what we decided.
Yep, I think so. Well, Annie, it's always a pleasure. I always have sore cheeks after talking to you, so I can appreciate that. Have an awesome time out on the boat. I'm jealous, and we will definitely get people to visit Have When Will Travel and come check out the Patreon campaign, Gift of Cruising, and help you out there. And hopefully we can get somebody else out to experience the same adventures you guys are experiencing.
Thank you. That's my whole goal. So yeah, definitely get on there and support that cause. That's what we're all about.
Yep, go there and then go find Annie's books, because she's given the house away. She's giving everything away. So just go claim your prize.
Cool. Awesome. Hope to hear from you guys. Thanks, Travis.
Sounds good. Thanks so much, Annie. Thanks for listening to this episode. Now head on over to Annie's blog at Have When Will Travel and click on the Patreon button to see how you can join Annie and Pam to make someone's adventure dreams come to reality. And as always, do us a favor and subscribe to our show in Stitcher or iTunes, and give us a like on Facebook and Twitter. Now get out there and have some fun.